Welcome back, you guys, to the Cerebral Palsy and Fitness podcast. I have back here Miss Nicole Luongo. She is the definition of what CP looks like. And as you all may have known, over the last 3 years, we started this mini series, as I would call it, to to not just promote cerebral palsy, but to bring about awareness associated with it through various topics that we discussed. Whether in employment, intimacy, and any other, and also through the media, which we'll be discussing today. So, welcome back, Nicole.
Hey, David, I think this is our third annual show, isn't it? So, how fun is
Yes, it
that? And
is.
thank you for having me back.
It's been fun. I mean, we've gone through different topics. We've also reconnected a few times, and today we're kind of continuing off to where we were last time and adding on to it like we usually do. So,
hmm
Nicole, tell me about some of the exciting projects you've been on recently. I know you were recently on today, which was huge for you.
Well, yeah, since we spoke last, or, we keep in touch through social media, but back in October, well, actually, let's go back to July. Back in July of last year of 2023, I did a Facebook Live interview with the Today Show fitness contributor. Her name is Stephanie Mansour. So she does this thing called Transformation Tuesdays, and she has somebody who's in the Start Today Facebook group who now has over, I don't know how many millions. That's got a ton of people in there. So they pick somebody, and it's for 30 minutes, which is a long time, to be on a Facebook Live talking about your journey and this whole thing. So I did that. And then in October, the Today Show, one of their writers wrote an article about me. So I was not live on the show. Let me make that clear, because a lot of people, when they see that, they think, I was on the show. I wasn't. That's a bucket list of mine. I've been trying to do that for years, but maybe that's one step closer to me possibly one day being on the show. And they published that article on World Cerebral Palsy Day, which was October 6th. Unfortunately, they didn't mention the significance of that
Right.
day. So, there's still things where I'm like, okay, I thought we've like established this, or that this would happen naturally, because that's what you do, but it was an honor to be featured, because like you and I know, really, David, I mean, I don't know, maybe you've seen it more than me. I rarely see adults, let's just say, with disabilities, but we have CP, so we know CP is basically, let's say it the way it is. I'm just gonna say it. We're invisible. I don't know what it is, why the media just doesn't cover our stories. I'm not asking them to cover our stories all year long. I'm not even, we're not even going there. I'm just saying it's March. Today is National Cerebral Palsy Awareness Day. The entire month is Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month. So you would think, because generally with other awareness months and days, they will feature several stories of people who have, you know, whatever that awareness day is. They do stories on people. I've seen it all month long for other awareness days and months, but you know what I've seen for CP? Zero.
Yeah, there's not much of an acknowledgement or just mention of it in general, and it's hard. It can be hard at times just to get some form of traction going and just to have
hmm
everybody come together, unless you it's like with an artist or any other professional, unless you live in a very big city and have very big connections, nothing's going anywhere for you.
You hit the nail on the head. Like I just put out a reel a couple days ago that's very popular, and it's in the reel. I'm naming the Today Show, Craig Melvin, Tamron Hall. Like, this is what I want you to do. Go green for CP on your show. And some of the people that I tag, they've seen the story, but they don't respond. So what a lot of people don't understand is you and we're using our platforms to advocate in ways that work for us. You have a podcast, I have a website and a blog. I hope to start my own podcast one day. And we know so many advocates who we're doing this all the time. We don't stop when March is over. This is just part of our lives, and we want to raise awareness and we want to help, but we don't have the audience. We're not going to reach millions of people in a single reel or a post. Now, if Taylor Swift put out a message and said, March
Oh
is
yeah.
Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month, please wear a ring, the entire country and countries around the world would be doing it. And she wouldn't have to post it like I'm posting several times a day. I'm working for this for hours a day on this, and hardly nobody sees what I'm doing. So that's one of the problems that I've seen for years, is that we don't have a major celebrity with CP who's doing advocacy work. We can both name, we won't do it, but we can both name people who have significant platforms and they have cerebral palsy, but
Yes.
they're not doing the advocacy work. And that's their choice. I wish they would, but that's their choice.
Right, right. And it just takes somebody to really care and have a big heart to really get involved in what we do. The time and the hours and
Mm-hmm.
everything else.
The only person, and I'm sure you're going to know the answer to this, but the only person who did that was Maurice Bernard. I interviewed Maurice Bernard. Now it's 3 years ago this month. For people who are watching or listening, Maurice Bernard is a 3-time daytime Emmy Award-winning actor and a New York Times best-selling author. He's the star of General Hospital. He plays mob boss Sonny Corinthos. And during the height of the pandemic, I posted on Instagram, because at that time I hosted a podcast that was not my own. And I was like, hey, Maurice, will you come on my show? And lo and behold, he said yes. And he doesn't say yes to many people or just anybody. And he says that on the episode himself. So I'm not speaking for him, but and the key thing, David, is he has no connection to cerebral palsy whatsoever. But
Yeah,
yet
that's
he wanted to help raise awareness, because he had just spoken to somebody else with CP on his wildly popular show State of Mind on YouTube, because he's a mental health advocate and his show is phenomenal. So he had just spoken to she's now I think in her early 20s. She has CP, and he spoke to her and her mother. And then around the same time, I'm like, hey, will you come on my show? So it just worked out that way. But you hit the nail on the head. Like, there's got to be somebody out there. Look, just post, wearing green like I am, and your backdrop, or just do something and put the hashtag Go Green for CP. I mean, that's all. It's really not hard to do, and because cerebral palsy is the most common physical disability in childhood, I know there are people out there who work at these morning shows who have children with CP or somebody on the staff. They have to know somebody affected in some way by cerebral palsy. So it's not impossible. Like I always say, I'm not asking for clearance to the FBI. Like I'm not asking,
right.
to write up in space. I'm not asking to do some huge thing that would take a lot of money and manpower. I'm just saying, why can't every time March rolls around, it should just be automatic that we're included on all those lists that all these shows get, the awareness days and months, and they plan their schedule accordingly of, okay, what stories are we going to tell this month? Well, let's see. March is Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month. Oh, I know. Let's interview David Figueroa. He's got a podcast, and he also loves fitness. Let's get him on here and talk about what he's doing and how he's going to go to this convention, and he's going to interview wrestlers, and he's going to make one of his dreams come true. How hard is that?
Right. It's not that hard, but society unfortunately makes it that way to where it's hard to access certain certain things that we'd like to do, and activities and just getting the word out there. The call to action is what they say. Call to action.
Mm-hmm. And
And
if anybody's listening, sorry to interrupt you. If you're listening and you follow either David or myself, if he posts something, a reel or anything, and if he's asking you to share it, just press the share button. It just takes 2 seconds. That's it. That's all it takes. But I have found that even my own followers, they just don't share posts. And that's the only way. And also they have to be shared publicly. It's great. Friends have shared certain things, and I'm always thankful to anybody who's wearing green for me and who's posting, and that's wonderful. But if we want change to happen, like David is talking about, a call to action, it has to be seen by a lot of people. A lot of eyes have to be on this thing. And that's the only way it'll get the attention of somebody who has the level of influence that I don't have, that David doesn't have. And that's just how this whole hamster wheel works.
it's like with last year. You know, I didn't know this, but as a surprise, my brother, I think you saw my brother posted on his LinkedIn, and he shared it with the
I
company.
saw
You
that.
know,
I shared that
he never
post.
yeah, he never really shares anything personal in his life, but when it comes to me, like I want people to know how proud of him I am and what he's doing, and what I stand for, and I
Yeah.
wanted the company to be involved in it. So he's like, I made everybody wear green. I'm like, you know,
Oh, see, that's great
so,
because that's how it starts. It's like it starts grassroots, and then it just builds from there. And just recently, somebody said to me, "Oh, I didn't know there wasn't a cure for CP," and that really floored me. Like I guess I'm just so this is our environment that you and I are in all the time with. So I just
right.
assumed. Now I don't assume that people know the significance of March and the significance of March 25th. I don't assume that. But I kind of thought that people knew there wasn't a cure because where would she get that? You don't see it advertised. You don't. I mean, I don't know. So
Yeah,
then I thought to myself, wow.
right. The reason I mentioned that is because the question I get a lot of people from a lot of people is, uh, will you be cured? Can you be cured? And I'm like, there is no cure. I mean, no.
Right.
It's
Right.
hard to hear and it's hard to swallow, but there really isn't a cure. You're going to have to live with it, even though people say, "Oh, but there's this, there's that." Sure, there are stem cells, but stem cells can do so much for a human being, and even to
Yeah.
access that, you're going to have to be in the top 1% to even have
Yes.
that kind of care.
You have to have the money or the insurance or both of those things. I had selective dorsal rhizotomy. That's another way people can go, but you have to qualify. Not everybody qualifies for that surgery, but you're exactly right. And not only is there not a cure, there's also no federal funding
Hmm.
for the most common physical disability in child. There's no federal funding. Like, it's 2024. Like, you would think that maybe that would change, but and maybe it has in the last. I don't think it has, but I'm not gonna speak and say that I know because I don't have all the information. But to my knowledge, there still is no federal funding, and parents really don't get a lot of help. And we're just gonna say it because we're adults. I got nothing. I know many
Right.
adults who they got much more than I did. They got physical therapy when they were a kid. I didn't get any of that. But they say to me, "Oh, once I'm 18, like that's it. Like nobody knows what to do. They can't help." And that's really that should not be acceptable. But that's what's happening.
But for me, I actually started going back to physical therapy back in July of last year. And at the time, before physical therapy last year, my body I was probably in the worst shape ever. I was in a lot of pain every day. I'd wake up in pain, go to work in pain, come home and go to sleep. The pain wouldn't go away. Uh, and then when I started physical therapy, within 2 to 3 months, I was sitting at home, uh, pondering my future because my job was being phased out. My previous job, my position was being phased out because they were going to full time. I applied for the full time position, didn't get it. So that put me in a position where not only was my body in terrible, terrible shape at the time, but my future, I don't know what was gonna happen. So I grinded everything out. I started, applying for jobs, applied for hundreds of jobs, didn't get very many interviews until I got one on LinkedIn. Somebody contacted me through LinkedIn. They tested me, and at first I was kind of skeptical because you don't really get interviews through text. And I
Right.
called the number, and they're like, this is so and so rheumatology, and so I'm like, and I asked them, is it for real? I'm like, yeah, it's an interview, and I'm like, yeah. So I did the interview. Mind you, I felt like I was ill prepared. I wasn't ready to do it. Within a week or so, 2 weeks, I actually got the job, and I resigned that the Friday of the 15th, and I started right on the 18th. Didn't even
Wow.
hesitate for a moment. Like, I was like,
Wow.
I got to know. So, and I've been there ever since. And they gave me, they didn't even question it, and
Wow.
they
That's it.
so accommodating.
Yeah, and wow. I mean, all it takes is one person or one company to give you a chance.
Right, and the funny thing is, this job hunting process took way less time. It took me 2 years to get my first job. It took me 2 months to get this job,
Oh,
doing
okay.
doing all
Wow.
the job hunting interviews.
Big difference there. Wow.
And it's all it takes is one chance. And I was thinking to myself, I'm gonna get that chance. All it takes is one
Mhm.
chance, and and I've ran with it. I'm like, and I didn't even question the pay. I'm like, hey, a job's a job. I just need something,
Yeah.
and I enjoy what I do.
That's good. Good. You're you know, you're
So
You've always been a go-getter. As long as I've known you, you're one of my favorite people. So if ever I get a call or a message from you and you say, "Hey, Nicole, like it's March, like are you ready to go?" It's like I'll be right there for you because you support your friends, you support people who are whatever they're doing, you support them, and not many people do that either. So it's refreshing to see somebody who you're what I call a cheerleader. I'm like that too, where you're cheering for everybody. You know that there's a place for everybody. Everybody can succeed. We're not competing against each other. There's room for everybody. So I love that about you.
yeah, it's all. I mean, that's what we should be doing in this society is being, helping each other instead of ignoring each other and being the elephant in the room,
Definitely.
if I might call it that.
Definitely, and right now, if I can say, we're taping this, and today happens to be this is the only time I'll mention it because I don't acknowledge it on social media for a reason. I'll tell you why. It's St. Patrick's Day, so
Yes, what are you
everything
doing?
every
What are
everything I'm
you doing
seeing
today?
is yeah, everything is green and the whole thing. So me, no, I'm not posting about St. Patrick's Day. I posted saying I'm wearing green for Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month because you know what? Everybody knows it's St. Patrick's Day. We don't need a reminder. Now, look, I'm not telling people boycott St. Patrick's Day, don't do it, but try to shift your perspective a little bit. What if David, a quarter of the people, let's just say a quarter of the people who are posting today with their shamrocks and their green and this or that, a quarter of those people also post about this month being Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month. Don't you think that would move the needle a little
Yeah, that
bit
would
in
be that would
terms of
be huge.
raising awareness? That would be huge. But
I
unfortunately,
mean, just for us in general.
yeah, just in general. Unfortunately, I don't know. Like I've interviewed somebody quite a few years back, and we were talking about how CP isn't sexy, so maybe that's why we don't get the coverage. I don't know what it is, and even if like for me, I'm not asking, like I said, I'm not asking to be interviewed. I have been interviewed, and I would do that again if a local station said they wanted to do that. And I always encourage you to do that. I've talked to you about that. I think you've reached out to your local stations because you're you're the poster child for the kind of stories that they would want to tell. But again, they don't make it
Right.
easy to like contact these stations. You don't really get a reply back. You have to really know somebody who can forward your message along to the right person. And even if they do, it doesn't mean they're going to say yes and make the announcement on air, because that's important to me. Now, I don't know, maybe other people in the community, they might think, Nicole, like, why is this important to you to get the media to announce it on air? I'll tell you, I
Right.
just turned 50. I'm going to be 51 in June. That's like half of my life where I feel like when I was a kid and you were a kid, we didn't have these days. We didn't have diversity, equity, and inclusion. Nobody was talking about any of this stuff. They're talking about it now. So I feel like, okay, I think this is wonderful. We're at a time where people are getting recognized, for different things, and causes are getting recognized and disabilities are getting recognized. And I love that. My problem is, and why I'm so passionate and quite frankly angry about it now, because doing this for 5-6 years and not seeing it change, why is cerebral palsy left out every year?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Like, why is it being left out? Is it because of the lack of education, or like you said, the lack of funding, like you mentioned earlier, or it's just like they don't. And I hate to say this, but they just don't care.
That's what I know. I basically have been saying, exactly. I'm like, they don't give two, what. I mean, that's how I feel as a person who was born with cerebral palsy. If I didn't have a good sense of myself and good self-esteem, I'd feel pretty crappy.
I
Seeing,
know.
hearing all these other awareness days and like, all this stuff, and then going, well, wait a minute, like I have CP and like it's March, and yeah, I understand all about St. Patrick's Day, March Madness. I get it. I know that. I understand. I know. Yeah, but can't we just can't where's the inclusion? That's my thing. Just include CP. You want to talk about shamrocks and March Madness and basketball, talk about all that. Talk about whatever you want. Just include cerebral palsy. It's that's all I
Yeah,
want.
just add it in there.
That's
But I mean, we're wearing green as it is. Just
right.
throw us in
But the
there.
thing is, that most people are going to assume we're going wearing green for St. Patrick's Day if we don't tell them. That's
Right,
why
right.
friends of mine, if they're wearing green, I say, please tell people why you're wearing green, because that's the whole point. If we're trying to raise awareness, where most people they don't even know that cerebral palsy has an awareness day or an awareness month, if you're doing it in the same month where there's a major, couple major things, St. Patrick's Day and March Madness, well, basically St. Patrick's Day, they're gonna think that's why you're wearing green. So yeah, I sometimes I think to myself, why do I keep doing this when back in 2019, I lit the whole country up in green, like literally the entire
Right.
country, 48 states. I don't know how many football stadiums. Like I can't even believe I did that. I don't even know. I don't know. Something entered my body for me to be able to do that, because I don't work in media. I don't work in marketing. I don't know how to. Prior to that, I had not done anything like that. I don't know how to do any of that. But when I have an idea, just like you, I figure it out, because there's nobody here. I don't have a team of people. You don't have a publicist. I don't have a publicist. We're our own everything. We do it all ourselves. Now, that's not to say that you and I would not welcome help, because we do. But it has to be the right kind of help. It has got to be, somebody that we trust and all that kind of thing. But I don't, people might think because I've been published in so many places. I've gotten myself in the press, but it's not because I know people. It's because I work my tail off and I just keep trying and trying and trying, very much like you do. But you know what, David? It shouldn't be that hard.
You know, you brought up a great question. So, ever since you've lit up, the 48 states, have they kept that up, or have some of them like forgotten
Oh no,
to?
that stopped once I stopped because I was the driving force of that. They don't just
Oh,
do it. I mean, I don't know if anybody else has asked the same places to light up because I don't follow, any of that. But I made the decision. It was so much work. It took basically 6 months of my life to do all
right.
that. And I said to myself, you know what? No one's paying me. I'm doing all this work. I can't even get the media to do a story on this, that's what I wanted.
You
It
would,
wasn't about me.
story worthy too. I mean, the fact that you got 48 states live stream for cerebral palsy, that's story worthy.
I mean, nobody's ever done that. Nobody. You know how they say there always has to be a first, somebody who's first at something. I was first. Like, this is Women's History Month. I literally made history, and nobody knows about it because nobody will cover it, and nobody knows who I am. I don't have a recognizable name. I don't have a recognizable face. So what I did pretty much goes under the rug, with the exception of people in our community who they were following that campaign, and many people went out to the lightings in their states and they took pictures of it, and but by and large, it would kind of be like if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there, does it make a sound? It's kind of like the same thing. All these lightings happen. If the media didn't cover it, did it really did it really happen? Yes, it happened, but unfortunately, I don't have pictures of all of them because most of the venues, they don't take pictures of their lightings. And
Right, right.
that was ridiculous to me too, because that's a PR moment. I can't be in 48 places at the same time to take a picture of something. And I don't know people
You
all
know,
around the country that could go, and if it worked out where there was one where you lived, yeah, you would have went and you would have, taken a picture. But so people have no idea how much work was involved. They don't have. I basically babysat a lot of people. You have to follow up with
it's
email, and the only reason why I didn't have 50, because I had 50. I don't know if you know this story. I had all 50 states, and I had at least two in every state, because I knew if one backed out, then I would have one. Well, one
right.
place, I forget what state it was, the engineer in charge of the lighting, he himself had cerebral palsy and he forgot to do it.
Oh
He told me he forgot.
no.
So I'm like, I've been emailing reminders and everything, and it's like, you don't write it down on a calendar. I mean, I didn't say this. I just said it to myself, like, really? That's why I lost this lighting, because this person forgot. So
Yeah, and it's funny because I actually got a news media opportunity, like an actual like news station, but to talk about something else. But
yeah.
I turned it down because it was basically to talk about employment, how they helped me get my job and stuff. I'm like, y'all didn't do squat. So why would I go on a news station and lie about something that you guys didn't do? You
Oh,
know?
so they didn't help you. Yeah, but
So
I mean,
I mean, yeah, like no, I'm not. Even though it's Fox 35, and I was like, this is my moment, but I said I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sit there and lie on TV. That'd
well,
be
that's
unethical.
what I respect. That's what I respect about you, because there could be other people who would say, "Hey, no one's gonna know. Like, I'll be on TV," but you have standards, much like I do, and it matters. It really does matter, because all that any of us really have is our reputation and our credibility. So that's why I think maybe we talked about this before. I forget, but you guys will never see me. You will never see me repost things from certain CP foundations, one of which
Sources.
is called the Cerebral Palsy Foundation. They stole my content a couple years ago. They are just totally awful. So this time of the month is hard for me because a lot of people repost their stuff because they're splashy and they have the graphics and they have the this and they have the money and they have all the stuff. You'll never see me repost it because they make a ton of money and they sell shirts but David, are you getting anything from them? You have CP.
Oh,
I'm not getting anything.
yeah. Yeah, well, I'm not getting it at all, no money at
No,
all.
we're not getting money. We're not getting resources.
Yeah.
They're not paying for your physical therapy. I mean, there's some organizations that I do like the work that they do, but you won't see me promote them either. You know why? Because they only come out of the woodworks in 1 month. They're basically, what are they doing the rest of the year? And when they come out in March, usually that's when they do, unless it's World CP Day, they're quiet because they're in Australia and they do their bulk of their work in October because World CP Day is on October 6th. But a lot of these other foundations, David, they're coming around asking for money. They're doing the flashy graphics and they're doing the stats and they're doing the this and they have a podcast, but they're also saying, hey, donate to us because we do research. What the F is this research doing is what I want to know because no one's researching me.
Right.
No one's, I don't know how I'm benefiting from any of these. I'm not saying they're all bad. I'm not saying that, but they have a specific goal and that really is to raise money.
Which is something that we don't like because sometimes money can be very toxic and not be used for the right reasons. It's with anything. Could be
Yep.
religious, could be something with disability, could be something with healthcare. Um, if you're if
Right.
you're
So
if you're
my
asking
point
for
is,
donation, red flag. So
just because something has cerebral palsy in the name, it doesn't mean that they're really helping the CP community and they're helping people with cerebral palsy. Now, they can be, but it doesn't mean that that's in fact what's happening because in my experience, it's the opposite. What glitters is not always gold, as they say.
yep, not everything turns to gold like King Midas.
Mhm. But
Yep, and
what
that's
issues are
that's
you
that's
what issues are you hearing about? Is there something you want us to talk about, like in your community? What's everybody talking about with regards to CP?
I mean, I learn pretty much like transportation issues. There's still a lot with that. Um, I keep seeing a lot of people mentioning like the job market employment too, because they're still having issues with that. And it's
Okay.
it's it's one of those things that you see a lot of people complain about, not being able to get a job or just struggling to get a job, and it's like, you know, everybody goes through the same struggle. Whether you're have a disability or not, you just have to keep on, trying and keep on pushing and building those contacts. And that's the thing is, people don't realize you have to put yourself out there. It won't be handed to you. Like what we're doing now with our advocacy, we're putting ourselves out
Right.
there and everything that we have,
Exactly.
and hopefully it's like a
Exactly.
fish on a hook. It's like a worm on a hook. That fish grabs it, so now you have an opportunity to
Hmm.
reel it in with anything.
Yeah, I mean, with anything, like you hit the nail on the head because I'm sure people have said this to you, like they've said to me. They think, how did you do all this stuff that you've done? And I said, well, because I just don't quit. I know I have special skills, and so do you. That everybody has strengths and weaknesses, and I know what my gifts are, and you know what your gifts are, and we use them. But the thing is, nobody knows who I am. Nobody's coming. They're not going to be knocking on my door. They're not really knocking. I'm not saying this. You know what I mean. They're not knocking on your door because they just suddenly know who this great guy David is, who has a podcast. No, you're probably sliding into DMs like I am. You're sending emails. You're on LinkedIn. You're on these other places and forums. You have to have a multi-pronged approach to whatever it is you're doing, especially if you're trying to garner the attention of somebody. Because I think that's what a lot of people miss. They think, oh,
Yeah.
I'll make a reel. That's wonderful, great. Keep doing it. But they share it once. You no,
Yeah.
you had. Well, who do you think? I mean, unless you're Taylor Swift, that's not gonna work. You have to share things a lot, and you have to share it in multiple places, and then you have to try to get traction, like you were talking about earlier, momentum, get people on board with what you're doing. When they share it, then it's like like fire catches whatever it touches, and then if you have momentum,
Mhm.
that's how the lightings happened. It just, the universe was on my side. I've always said that. Like, I think I had 30 states in the first 30 days, so I kind of went, wait a second, something's going on here, because that's not normal. Like, that's not something that would just happen. I said, oh, I think this is my time. Sometimes it's your time, and sometimes it's David's time. It could be multiple people's time at the same time.
Right.
But I'm just saying, for general purpose, I said, oh, I think the universe is kind of helping me out here, because I couldn't achieve that on my own. I couldn't just be like, okay, I want to do this, and then boom. No, it was the right time. And then, because it was so much work, because of course people just, I think they assumed that I was going to continue it. And I was like, heck no. Unless these big foundations, who they should be trying to light up. They're the ones with all the media contacts. They should be trying to be lighting up these buildings, and they should be trying to get on TV, because they have the media contacts, not me. And I said, when I'm tired, I'm not doing it. And then, of course, the pandemic happened. So it's a good thing that I had already decided that I wasn't going to do it, because it wasn't going to work anyway. Everything was shut down.
And it's funny that you mentioned groups. Like, another thing too that has kind of got me a little annoyed is these Facebook groups. And I'm not just saying any Facebook groups. And I hate to point our own community, cerebral palsy community, but the amount of negativity and
I
backstabbing
know.
each other is
I
just,
know. That's why I'm not in them.
like, I'll just
'Cause I,
I'll just read it, and then it gets like, wow, like I'm mind blown by the responses. Or, I mean, it's never happened to me directly, but to other people on like the group, people are so negative.
yeah, yeah, I can relate to that a little bit. That's why I just kind of don't, like, that's why, the Start Today group, it's so positive there, and people are great. So that's one of the ones I'm on regularly. And then, but really, I'm not in any of the disability ones, because I've had kind of that same experience years ago, where just either they're not really active. Like, if you're, posting stuff, or you're trying to raise awareness, you have to go where there's people who are interested in what you're doing. Otherwise, essentially, I'm just wasting my time.
I got a good story for you, but this will be saved for after the show. I can't talk about it here.
Okay. Okay.
I
Yeah,
got a good one
in
for
fact,
you.
you might remember the petition that I started in 2021 to get the White House to light up. Well,
That's right. You did.
I I got into a situation with Mean Girls. I was friends, two girls, and we thought we were like, wow, we really connected, and we thought we were family. No, I'm not affiliated with them. I don't even know what they're doing, because they backstabbed me, and so I'm not associated with them at all. We're not friends. And I thought, are you kidding me? Like, this is what it's come to, that, you know, yeah. And I'm like, this wouldn't even, it's not about me, but our whole friendship, and none of it would have even happened if I didn't start what I started. And then the other woman, she said, oh, do you want me to write the petition? So it was my idea. She wrote it. My name is still in it. It stopped at like over 41,000 signatures. And then they didn't do anything else with it. Like, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if they're still together because they then formed their own thing. And I was like, no, people, you're not going to treat me like that. I don't want to be a part of any group that would speak to me the way that I was spoken to. And, no, I'm not going to accept that kind of treatment. And anybody who's listening, if you're being bullied or talked down to by anyone, do not accept that behavior because it's wrong.
Yes, exactly. Any kind of you're making fun of anybody, anything or anyone is not acceptable. You gotta be you have to be positive and build that person up. Don't bring them down.
Well, and a lot of it, David, is you know what it is? It's jealousy.
Yeah.
You have to be able to recognize when people they're acting like they're on your side and then suddenly they flip, or so you have to be able to notice the signs that some people just can't handle it if you're maybe succeeding in an area that they wish they were succeeding in, or for whatever reason they're jealous and they turn on you. And that's not a real friend. A real friend is somebody who's they're gonna cheer. Like David and I, we cheer for each other. David's doing this huge thing. I think in is it August, David?
In
June?
June. Yep.
June's my birthday month. Okay, so he's doing this huge thing, and I'm sure he's told you guys about it, and he will be telling you more about it in the future. So we all should be cheering for him because it's a monumental achievement that he's going to be part of this. He's going to be part of the press team that goes and interviews wrestlers and all these people in that arena, literally, who that's what they do for a living. And not many people get the chance to do that. And he has cerebral palsy, so he's going to bring a unique element to that as well, because you don't really hear that word associated with wrestling, unless we got to give our shout out to John Cena, who I know has met like some of his young fans with CP, because I've seen videos in the past, and he just seems like a wonderful person just in general, and in that regard to take time out with his young fans with CP and speak to them, and he seems like a good guy. So thank you, John Cena, and you made the Oscars memorable, buddy. That's all I'll say there. It was
Yeah,
a
that is something. Nobody expected that.
no, I was like, what?
Yeah, I heard they weren't too
Speaking,
happy about that. The networks.
well, speaking of that, when you were talking about accessibility, there's a big deal about the Oscars aren't accessible either, because people with disabilities, like, let's say if I suddenly I was in contention to win an Oscar, I can't walk up those stairs. That would not be happening unless I'm holding onto somebody's arm. There's not a ramp for people who use wheelchairs.
Right.
I know it's all about aesthetics, but come on, that's just not fair. And I can't believe that has not changed yet.
Yeah, I'm hoping that by the future, when a lot of these there's a lot more actors and different people who are in different professions with different disabilities, they might start something a
Well,
movement of
what's it
something of
gonna
sorts.
take? What's it gonna take? What's her name? You know who I'm talking about. Allie. I can't think of her last name, but she won a Tony Award. She's a wheelchair user. She won a Tony Award. Ali Stroker, I believe, is her last name, and people will know who I'm talking about. There's one. I mean, if she was the one, who else? What? Those kind of things really, I don't understand it, because just like you're trying to do, you bring a whole other element. Like, they're not thinking about the disabled community who love entertainment. There are disabled actors, disabled
Right.
people who aren't actors but who watch. We consume, just like anybody else, a lot of TV, and we watch movies and all this stuff, but we also go to them as well, or we might want to go to, like you're saying, these wrestling events, but they're not accessible. So if they're not accessible, you're keeping people away who would be spending money
Right.
to go to, various events, but if they can't even get into them, they're not going to go. So if they want to break it down, they're losing money.
That's right. They are, and by doing the by not doing the setup to where it's convenient for those with disabilities, you're actually losing. And I know it's something small for some people, but it's huge for others. You're losing a
Mm-hmm.
whole demographic, a whole part of the audience. You know,
I agree.
when they
Yeah.
see oh, the person in the wheelchair won the Sony Award, but then they don't see the ramp. They're like, so so now you're not only taking away from that person that won not the person that won the award, but you're also taking away an opportunity for that person to shine. And not only that,
Right.
but could you imagine if you had that setup already made? How much of a positive outlook your program could have had? Be like,
But they were
oh,
supposed to
they
do that.
have
They were supposed to do that a couple of years ago. Do you remember that?
right,
A couple of years ago when Judy Heumann, the late Judy Heumann, she attended with, what's that guy's name? I forget his name, but she attended with at least 3 other people, and there were in talks with, I think it may have still been CBS at the time, in talks with making a ramp, and at the last minute they didn't do it.
wow,
So if you think about it, Judy Heumann, who was a world-renowned activist, if she couldn't get that done, like I just don't know. You know what I mean? Like I don't take on, that's not an issue that I take on because that's just way too big. Like I mean I will support it if I see anything about, hey, the Oscars, they need to be more accessible, but that's just a whole other thing. I feel like where I guess, I don't know, people would have to tell me. I think I motivate people, I hope, to what I'm trying to do is motivate people to just call your local station. That's it. Just call them because they they probably are looking for stories, but they don't know you yet. They don't know that they have this woman or man or child right in their city with cerebral palsy that they could do a story on, because they're not going to come knocking at your door. They don't even know who you are. But if you call the station and you say, "Hey, my name is Nicole, and did you know that it's Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month? And would you be willing to do a story on me to help raise awareness?" They might say yes.
I even be surprised. A lot of people they'll say yes. It's just a matter of just sometimes you gotta push them too. Like you gotta
Especially
keep
if you
at.
live in a small town. They're dying for stories like that. If you live in where it's a smaller market. Me, I live in Broward County. I don't, Miami is a different county, obviously, but I'm bulking it together. I live in the greater South Florida area. It's a huge market. So it's hard to get, any visibility. And when I did get visibility, was it last year? Now the years are kind of blending. I think it was last year where I got my local channel 10, but it was really a bust, honestly. They wouldn't have had a story if it wasn't for me. But then they turned it into, they interviewed a doctor and a mother with a child with CP. Then they had me at the end for like 30 seconds, and they said there wasn't even my name that they said. They got my name wrong. And when I did I can't call it an interview, but the interview, when I went on Zoom, the reporter didn't even turn her camera on.
Mm.
So I was literally felt like I was talking to myself, and it was really awkward. And she asked me at least 3 or 4 times, "So what was the goal with the lighting?" And that was her tone when she asked. So at first I said, "Oh, well, CP is the most common physical disability in childhood, yet it gets the least amount of attention. So, with the lightings, that's what I was trying to do." And she asked me like 3 more times. And I really wanted to say, "Can you just tell me what answer you'd like me to give you so I could give you that?" Because clearly, like, my answer is not working for you. And she's an Emmy Award winner. So it shouldn't take a lot of thought to figure out, why would one woman spend all of this time not getting compensated for it, not getting really recognized for it, all this time to light up all these different landmarks and buildings, you can't figure out why I would be doing that?
Right? It's sad, but some people are no matter what accolades or who you are, they're not very bright.
I'm laughing because, you do make a point because they don't always go together, where people think, just because somebody is accomplished in one area, and we all have this, you might be accomplished at one area of your life. It doesn't mean you have all the areas figured out. I certainly don't. But, I hope that people listening to us, they'll see two people, two adults with CP, and we're just trying to create change in our corner of the world, and really anybody can do it. If you don't want to start a podcast, you don't have to. If you don't have a big mouth like me and you don't mind just yakking away and writing blog posts and sharing blog posts, you don't have to do that. If maybe you like drawing and you want to, whatever you do, you want to draw about your experiences, maybe you like reels and you like to make videos, do whatever suits you. And if you want to join the advocacy community, we're here for you. And there's
Yes.
no rules of how to do it, because people have asked me that too. Like many years ago, somebody, I don't really know this person, we're not friends or anything, she just happened upon maybe my page or something, and she's like, can you get a degree in, and at that time, I don't think there was anything. Now you can get certificates and all that, but I was like, no, you just have to care. Like, if you
I,
care for any cause, you just start talking about it.
I've always wanted to ask you, as a writer and as
Mm-hmm.
someone that's written a book, is being self-employed with a disability like very difficult? Is it very challenging? Like
Well,
if I were to,
I'm not self-employed, but I'm not self-employed. So that's the thing. I don't make any money from anything that I do, because I'm not Taylor Swift and nobody's buying my book. Sorry,
right,
but
right.
that's the truth. And everywhere that I've been published, HuffPost, The Mighty, republished on Yahoo, the Medium, nobody pays. You're not paid for any of those. So people might wonder, oh, you get paid for your articles. No. And lightings, nobody paid me to
That's
do
the
any of that.
challenging part of it.
So
Right?
that's the challenge. I'm very lucky because I am on Social Security disability, and that's how I, you know, that's how I afford the things that I need. And
And it's
um,
funny because a lot of people in your situation are in the same boat where they have difficulty trying to, just live. And it's because they don't get the opportunities. Just like you're saying, you don't get the opportunities to make money because no one's really watching what you do. Your book, what
yeah,
you write.
or you get the flip side of it, where that's why you've seen me distance myself from some of these organizations that I used to support in the CP community, because sometimes they come to me and they're like, hey, can you write a post about this? Yeah, are you gonna pay me? No. Well, no. I did that for years, where I wrote on my own, because like you said, it's a labor of love. We don't do this to, you know it's not like we're trying to make millions of dollars or anything, but we do have skills just like everybody else. And this is another passion project of mine. We should be paid for them. That's it. I mean, there's no other way to really say it. And I'm not being mean about it. I'm just being honest. Um,
Yes. Yes.
and me, David. I mean, I can network like nobody's business, and I don't have a degree in it. I just love people. I've connected with you to other things. You've connected me to other things. And that's a skill that a lot of people don't have. And people are paid, like a public relations people, which my sister told me, because she used to be a bigwig in human resources. She's retired now. And she told me, she said, she has worked with people who have degrees, and I do better than these people. And I don't know what I'm doing. I just do it naturally because I know people and I just love to connect people. So, for example, just the other day, I did it with you. Somebody followed me, some account that I wasn't familiar with, a CP account on Instagram. I looked at the person's profile. I go, oh, David's going to want to interview this guy. Because the guy was in, like, he had CP and something, fitness was in there too. I was like, oh, I'll send it to David. Now, David can do whatever he wants with it. I'm not insulted if he doesn't interview him. That's up to him. But
Right.
I always share because it only takes but a second.
Yeah, and I've had plenty of people reach out to me recently to interview them. It's just I have to find the time, and also I don't know if you know the founder of Lucio Mate. He's somebody from Australia, James something. He's on LinkedIn.
Wait. Say it again.
Lucio Mate.
What does that mean?
It's a I think it's a physical therapy company from Australia. I think they follow you too, or you follow them.
Maybe they probably follow me on Instagram, but yeah, I don't know. I think I know what you're talking about.
The CEO of the company reached out to me to talk on LinkedIn. So now we're gonna have a
Okay.
meeting on Thursday.
Okay.
So
Well,
that's gonna be
you and I probably. I was meaning to ask you. Like, I really do want to get back into podcasting, but I've got a couple of roadblocks that because editing is not my thing. I don't do all that. But maybe we'll talk another time. You can maybe motivate me to just press the button and do it. Because what people don't understand is my feeling on podcasting. You probably don't have the same feeling, and it's okay. Everybody has their own personal opinion. But whenever you tell people that you have a podcast, everybody just, if they know
sorry
you,
about
they
that.
want to. Oh, that's okay. Oh, your dog's adorable. I saw you post about her. Congratulations. But not every guest is appropriate for every show.
Right.
And people don't understand that. Like, just because you have cerebral palsy and you might know me or follow me, it doesn't mean that I want to interview you. And there's no, I'm not insulting anybody, but
Right.
you have to kind of know. If you don't know your story and you can't tell your story, that's like the whole point of going on a podcast. If you're not engaging, if you're not interesting, if you don't have really anything to share, there's really no point of going on a podcast. Or if you don't have a product that you're promoting, or a book or something. Now, everybody doesn't have to. You don't have to have those things, but I really would say you do have to be engaging to some point.
Yes, that's true. With that being said, Nicole, what's your website and where can they inquire more about you and what you've done and the podcast?
Can I put it in here, or you can put it? It's just my name, NicoleLuongo.com.
I can put it in.
Yeah, and when
NicoleLuongo.com.
they go there, they'll be able to see, because I have blog posts about my interview with Maurice Bernard, and that's also on the side where I think I have it, where they can just press the button and start watching it. The post about the Today Show, the actual screenshot from the Today Show article, that's on there. They click on that, they can read the article. And I have there's topics where you can if you want to see articles just about cerebral palsy, there's a topic drop down menu for that. I'm also a poet and an author, like David said. I published a book in 2002 called Naked Desires, and I was on my local NBC station quite a few years ago, interviewed about that. So, I have a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but, I just, and SCR, because I'm a passionate advocate for selective dorsal rhizotomy surgery. So anybody who's interested, I've got my journey articles about that, but I also have frequently asked questions, and where people can, if they would like to contact Dr. Park, who was my surgeon, all that information is there. And in fact, I was considering getting rid of my website, because again, if nobody knows you, nobody's really seeing what you put out there. But a food blogger who I tested a couple recipes for last year. The recipe teacher, that's his site. He's great. He said to me, "No, Nicole, your message is too important. Like, don't get rid of your website." So I kept it because I found another provider for like half the cost of SiteGround, and I said, "You know what? I'll keep it." Took me like about 8 or more hours to transfer. That was a whole, oh my God.
Oh,
No,
geez.
anybody else would have just said, "I'm finished, I'm done." But I have a lot of perseverance, thank goodness. Otherwise, you might have been visiting me in the mental ward because that's how challenging it got. Because I was like, "Oh my God, this is crazy." But yeah, people can thank you for putting it there, and they can visit and just have a look around, and maybe you'll learn something new about CP, or just about an adult experience. One thing I want to do, I can't ride a regular bike. I did go to a bike camp on my 41st birthday, so almost 10 years ago, to try to learn how to ride. I did it for maybe, I don't know, 30 seconds, but I would need a bike and somebody to keep training me. Even then, I don't even know if it would click all the way to be able to do it on my own. So, I'm going to try to look into somebody else who we know in the CP community, Briella and me. They're huge on social media. Everybody knows them and follows them. Briella's mother gave me a great idea. She said, "Hey, reach out to Freedom Concepts because they might want to work with you as an adult, influencer." So that might be my next project, David.
I'm looking forward to seeing that. That's exciting.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm always sometimes most of the things just I don't plan any of the stuff that I do. Like I'll just get an idea in my head and then I'll just, run with that, and it gives me something to do because I'm by myself all the time. It's not a fun thing. All of my friends, you and other people, none of y'all live here. We don't live in the same place. Thank God for technology. We can come on and see each other and do fun things like this, and talk about different topics where maybe doesn't get the airtime. I mean, nobody's talking about CP at all, so that's why we just take it upon ourselves and we do it ourselves.
Yeah, that's why I kind of got a dog. Well, my folks got him for me for an early birthday gift. Because they're
Adorable. What
concerned.
is your dog's name? What's your dog's name?
Uh, Nitro. He's a multi-poo.
Did you say nitro, like
Yeah,
part of the word nitroglycerin? I'm just
like no, it's nitro like the night. Like a night.
Oh, but is that the I don't even remember. No,
Like
is
the
that that's
medieval
not the
like the medieval
Spanish.
night.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant like night as in day or night, but you're talking about
Oh
night.
no,
K-N-I-G-H-T.
like knight in shining armor. Yeah, like
Right. Okay. Cool. He's adorable. I saw the picture earlier.
yeah, he's a multi-poo.
Aw. Is he
Yes,
a puppy?
yeah, he's 8 months old.
Oh, you have to train him?
Yeah, I train him, but the only thing I don't really do is walk him because he's still wanting to run out of the house. So my folks or somebody else takes care of that while they're gone, and then eventually he's trying to get used to it. Like we're putting him on my scooter, so he walks next to my scooter.
Yeah.
Eventually
Aw.
I'll train to where he can just I'll get him on the
You
scooter too.
make some videos about that. You'll get a lot of people watching that because the dog's involved. Trust me.
Eventually I will start doing videos about the dog and what it's like
Yeah.
to have a dog with while living with a
Yeah.
disability and to train him, and it should be exciting. It's gonna be fun. Well,
Yeah.
Nicole, thank you so much for
Definitely.
being on today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure as always. Go green for
Yeah, it was
CP,
a lot of
everybody.
yes, and don't forget, March 25th here is the day, so it's gonna be underneath on the ticker, and you guys can watch this episode on Spotify, YouTube, any other major podcasting outlet out there. Nicole, thank you as always for another great episode for our third year doing this little series, and we'll continue on next year. So take care, everybody. Have a good one.